When it comes to three-row mid-size SUVs, space and practicality are foremost in shoppers' minds. This is the 2025 Acura MDX, and while it checks those boxes, it adds a healthy dose of performance that makes it unique among entry-level rivals. Before we get into this review, do us a favor, hit those like and subscribe buttons below to get all of our latest reviews. This 4th generation Acura MDX was introduced in 2022, and for 2025, it gets a very minor styling update with new wheels, a reshaped bumper, and a new mesh grille. They're subtle changes and don't really change its sharp and angular design much. Overall, I think it's handsome and sporty, though maybe a little bit generic from a distance. But what do you think? Does the MDX appeal to you, or is there another SUV that's got your attention? Let us know in the comments below. The 2025 Acura MDX is available with a choice of 2 engines. The base model gets a 3.5-liter V6 that produces 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. It's all run through a 10-speed automatic transmission that sends power to the front wheels in the 2 base trims. All-wheel drive is an option for those and standard on all others. This, however, is the top-of-the-line Type S, which comes with a 3-liter turbocharged V6 that increases output to 355 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. In addition to all that power, it also gets a sport-tuned adaptive air suspension and Brembo brakes. These are big performance upgrades, and they come with a hefty price premium too, costing almost 50% more than the base model. These specs don't change from last year, but Acura made much more significant changes on the inside. But we'll get to that shortly. For now, let's go for a spin to see how this all comes together. I'll tell you right up front that you probably won't be wanting for more power from this MDX Type S. It should get up to 60 miles an hour in 5.5 seconds, which is about a second quicker than the standard engine. Power delivery is immediate and easy to control. It hides its performance potential behind an easy-to-drive personality. The ride is appropriately comfortable and poised, with nothing that I can count as a drawback. Driven conservatively, you'd never guess how much performance is actually available. On a curvy road like this, the MDX confidently sweeps through curves, with body roll well managed. Acura adds a sense of occasion to its drive mode dial, which is prominently placed right smack dab in the middle of the dashboard. Perhaps a bit too prominently for my tastes. Sport mode livens things up with a sharper throttle response and firmer suspension setting. This Type S further benefits from a Sport Plus mode that requires you to hold the dial for 3 seconds, just to confirm that, yes, you really do want to have fun. And yes, you can actually have some fun. The way this corners, it's hard to believe that it weighs almost 4,800 pounds. I'm actually surprised by how accomplished it is in this setting. There's not even a peep coming from the tires as it knifes through each bend. This is one of those rare vehicles where I'd actually only test the limits on a racetrack. This kind of handling isn't exclusive to the top Type S model either. Supporting MDXs are sportier than your typical SUV as well. Just be sure to get all-wheel drive instead of front-wheel drive. This is also one of those rare cars where I don't have anything to complain about. I really only have one nitpick, and that's the lack of an easy-to-read gear indicator. In the instrument panel, it's just a little tiny thing in the bottom corner, and there's no indicator in the head-up display either. It's only important to the few drivers who are willing to push the MDX hard, so I won't knock it for that. This year adds sound-insulated glass for a quieter cabin, and I can attest that it is pleasantly silent. I'm getting just enough engine and exhaust note to add some excitement, but not so much that it affects comfort. Like I said earlier, there are bigger changes to the interior, so let's pull over and review all of that. The biggest change for 2025 is what I considered the previous MDX's biggest flaw, the touchpad infotainment controller. It used to sit right here, and it was frustrating to use and never really made sense to me. Lexus tried and failed with a similar controller years ago, and I was surprised when Acura gave it a go. It was so bad, I considered it almost a deal breaker. Now it runs off of a traditional touchscreen, which is immeasurably better. With logical menus and quick responses, it's gone from one of the worst to one of the best infotainment systems out there. Also new is the switch from the previous ELS Premium Audio to a Bang & Olufsen system with 19 speakers. In this top Type S trim, you get 31 speakers. You're just going to have to trust me when I say it's really worth it. You get punchy bass and clear highs, but thanks to YouTube's policing of music rights, I can't really demonstrate it for you. The front seat's also getting an upgrade with a stronger massage function that will definitely come in handy on longer drives. When it comes to interior storage, the MDX does fairly well. You get these large cup holders, and with the loss of the horrible touchpad controller, there's a little bit more storage here for smaller items. The center console bin is fairly deep, and the door pockets are fairly large, so you can hold some of the larger water bottles. For the most part, the cockpit is well designed and easy to use, but me being me, I still have some nitpicks. There's a lot of piano black being used in this interior, in the center console and in the dashboard. Thankfully, it doesn't cause a lot of distracting reflections, but it really does just attract dust and smudges. I mean, I just wiped it down and it already looks kind of dirty. The piano black buttons are even more off-putting. The reflections on these, combined with the small labeling, makes it difficult to use without having to take your eyes off the road. To its credit, these large toggles for the climate control and these secondary audio controls here make it much easier to use without having to take your eyes off the road. This track skip button does seem a little out of place to me. To my eyes, it looks like it belongs more on an appliance at home than in a luxury car. As I've said in previous reviews, if you hear me nitpicking the car, that's actually a good sign because it means the car gets the fundamentals right. Everything I've pointed out as a drawback can easily be forgiven and will likely not be a problem once you get used to them. But we also want to know what you think. Are you as opposed to piano black as I am? Or are there any nitpicks I missed? Let us know in the comments below. Well, that does it for the front seats, so let's work our way back. Here in the second row, I have a decent amount of space. Now, for headroom, I've got maybe an inch or two above my head. And for legroom, with the seat set for me, and I'm 5'10", I have plenty of knee room and a little bit of space underneath for my feet. Now, one thing that's cool is this center seat here folds down to a nice little console here, and the whole thing is removable so you can have a pass-through. The problem is, though, you won't really have a place to store this, so it'll have to stay in your garage. It's not like the Honda Pilot where they have a big storage underneath the floor to stow it in. But this is still a great little addition to increase flexibility. Back here, we also have separate climate controls, 2 USB-C ports, as well as a 12-volt power point. As far as materials go back here, it's actually quite nice. We typically see harder and more durable plastics back here, but that's not the case. We also have these manual sunshades here that'll keep your passengers nice and cool on a hot day. But of course, this is a 3-row SUV, so we've got to check out that back row. As you can tell, this third row probably isn't meant for someone my size. My head is definitely bumping into the headliner here, and there's not a lot of thigh support because the seat cushion is mounted low, which forces my knees up in the air. There is a decent amount of legroom and knee room, but this seat is slid forward just a little bit to accommodate. Materials quality is a little more durable than hard back here, and that's fine because honestly, this is probably meant for occasional use by smaller people anyway. It's also easy to get in and out of thanks to a one-button push that slides that seat right up away. The MDX can actually hold quite a bit behind the third row, measuring 18.1 cubic feet. Now, folding them flat is easy thanks to this handy latch here, and that expands it to 39.1 cubic feet. At its maximum, it can hold up to 71.4 cubic feet with the second row folded. There's also a decent amount of storage underneath. It should come as no surprise that I like the changes made to the 2025 Acura MDX. Now that it ditched that horrible touchpad controller, I can recommend it to drivers seeking a little more excitement from a practical 3-row SUV. But pricing can be an issue in this top trim. It costs $76,900 as tested, and the only option is the $600 Urban Gray paint. That's a lot of money for something without a premium luxury badge. But I think it's worth it for the driver that prioritizes performance. For the vast majority, the supporting MDX trims are a smarter choice. As I said earlier, they're plenty capable and athletic in their own right. The base MDX has a starting price of around $52,000, and there are 4 other trim levels between it and this top Type S. So there's likely one that meets your needs and budget. Among other entry-level luxury SUVs, the MDX definitely is the driver's choice. In some ways, I equate it to the BMW X5, which is a very strong performer. The new Lexus TX, on the other hand, is more plush and luxurious, almost like how a Mercedes is compared to a BMW. Now, compared to the BMW X5, you'll save a lot with a similarly equipped MDX. So what would you go with? Let us know in the comments below what you might pick. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. And we'll see you in the next review soon.